All right, let's jump right in. If you've spent any time around the Chicago North Shore, or honestly, any city with unpredictable seasonal weather, you know exactly how it goes. One minute it's a beautiful sunny afternoon, and the next, total downpour. But recently, a string of intense summer storms hit the North Shore, and they didn't just bring rain. They brought an absolute deluge that literally pushed local infrastructure past its breaking point. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how these hyper-concentrated bursts of rain managed to swamp neighborhood streets so incredibly fast. We'll look at the actual physics of why city drains fail, and, most importantly, the crucial steps you need to take to protect yourself when the weather turns on a dime. It's actually a pretty fascinating look at what happens when ordinary city systems collide with extraordinary weather.
So the reports we're seeing from the ground really paint a vivid picture here. We're talking about intense bursts of rain that quickly overwhelmed drainage systems and led to localized flooding. And, it's important to clarify, we are not talking about a multi-day hurricane. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't even a prolonged storm. It was a sudden, super aggressive deluge. People were stepping out their front doors to find standing water creeping up intersections, completely submerging curbs on streets that normally handle rain without breaking a sweat. When a street you've never ever seen flood suddenly turns into a neighborhood pond, yeah, that's a massive red flag. It tells us there's a dramatic mismatch between what the pavement was built to handle and the ridiculous volume of water the sky just dumped in a matter of minutes.
And just look at the sheer geographic scale of this thing. We are seeing major impacts up and down the coast. Lake Bluff, Highland Park, Winnetka, Lake Forest, Wilmette, and Glen Coe. I mean, this wasn't just some isolated fluke where one unlucky storm drain backed up on a random block. Not at all. When you've got dozens of these North Shore communities all dealing with the exact same flooding scenario at the exact same time, well, that shows us we're looking at a widespread systemic stress test of the infrastructure. Basically, the entire regional drainage network got hit with an overwhelming peak downpour all at once.
Okay, so let's pivot to the underlying physics for a second, because this is where it gets really interesting. It all comes down to moderate rainfall capacity versus peak downpour volume. Our streets and drains are engineered for the former. They are fantastic at whisking away steady, routine rain over, say, a 12-hour period. But they hit a massive brick wall when confronted with peak downpour volume. Think of it like a giant kitchen funnel. If you pour a gallon of water in slowly, it works perfectly. But if you take that same gallon and just dump the whole shebang in at once, it instantly overflows. During these summer storms, the rainfall rates spiked so violently that the water simply had nowhere to go but up, spilling right out into the streets, no matter how well maintained those municipal systems usually are.
Because, you see, flooding like this doesn't just happen by magic, right? It is a very rapid, very predictable chain reaction. Step 1, we get those short, insanely heavy rain intervals where the volume is just staggering. Step 2, because of that rapid influx, the surrounding ground saturates almost instantly, like a sponge that can't take another drop. That means literally 100% of the new rain instantly becomes surface runoff. Step 3, as this massive sheet of water rushes toward the storm drains, it drags all sorts of debris along with it, which blocks the very inlets supposed to save us. And finally, step 4, with the ground totally maxed out and the drains clogged, the water rapidly accumulates in low-lying spots, spreading across traffic lanes way before city crews or pumping stations can even blink, let alone catch up.
I actually want to pause on that debris factor for a second because, man, it is so easy to overlook. We're talking about totally mundane stuff here. Ordinary leaves, small twigs, maybe a stray piece of litter. Stuff that sits in our gutters every day looking completely harmless. But in the middle of a peak downpour, those things turn into severe hazards. When hundreds of gallons of water rush toward a single storm grate, it sweeps up all those loose leaves and essentially forms a watertight seal right over the iron. It's like putting a stopper in a bathtub. It critically reduces the street's drainage capacity to near absolute zero. City officials specifically pointed out that this single mechanism is exactly what turns a manageable puddle into a major flooding crisis during these flash storms.
Which brings us to a super critical part of our explainer today. What you actually need to do when you find yourself caught in one of these situations. Emergency management guidance is laser focused on one thing: keeping you safe. First off, absolutely avoid driving through flooded streets or turnarounds. Honestly, no exceptions here, because water depth is incredibly deceptive. It takes a surprisingly tiny amount of moving water to completely stall a car, or worse, sweep it away. Also, make sure you're reporting hazardous conditions or blocked inlets to the local authorities so they know where to send their crews. But proactive stuff matters too, right? If it's safe, and only if it's safe, clear leaves away from the storm drains near your house before the heavy rain starts. And, of course, be a good neighbor. Check in on folks nearby, especially those in ground-level units or basement apartments where water can literally pour in without warning.
But here's the thing we have to remember. The danger rarely passes the second the sun peaks back out. Forecasters issued a pretty stark warning about this. Areas with ponded water remain highly vulnerable. So if the storm track shifts, or if even just a little more rain develops overnight, that standing water still has nowhere to go. The ground is already saturated, the drains are already at capacity or completely blocked. This means even a light follow-up shower can immediately make the flooding so much worse. So staying alert to weather updates and actually following those safety advisories is absolutely essential until you can physically see that the drainage has caught up.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question to chew on regarding your own neighborhood. Is our street-level drainage truly ready for the next sudden shift in rainfall rates? Because as these summer storms seem to increasingly deliver these short, insanely intense bursts of peak volume, this is a reality every single community has to face. We've just seen how incredibly fast that chain reaction happens, from saturated ground to leaf-blocked grates to completely submerged roadways. Understanding this dynamic doesn't just make us smarter residents, it legitimately makes us safer and much more prepared. The next time those dark clouds roll in out of nowhere, you'll know exactly what's happening beneath your feet and exactly what steps to take. Keep those grates clear, stay safe out there, and seriously, never underestimate the power of a sudden summer downpour.